In this video, we will be tasting and comparing spring and summer 2021 harvests of Shan Lin High Mountain Oolong tea. So we brewed 9 grams of tea leaves in these 150 milliliter tea judging cups for 2 minutes on the first brew, and then 1.5 minutes on the second brew. We have spring harvest leaves, dried leaves on our left, and summer harvest dried leaves on our right, coinciding with the brewed teas. First brew, 2 minutes, and second brew, 1.5 minutes. Spring on our left, summer on our right. We can see that the brews are slightly different color. It looks like the summer batch was oxidized noticeably more than the spring batch, which is common. There are more catechins, or should say higher concentrations of catechins in summer tea, typically due to the hotter weather. Just different levels of compounds in the tea leaves. And if they are not oxidized sufficiently, they are more prone to be a bit astringent, especially at this minimal oxidation level. If we're taking a look at the brewed leaves, it appears that they're fairly similar in maturity. In looking at them just a minute ago, I noticed that the stems of the spring harvest are slightly thinner and smaller than the stems on the summer harvest, which is also standard and typical. During the summer months, the leaves grow faster, they have longer stems, there's more distance between the leaves on the stem because of the rapid growth. And particularly, it makes sense this year where there was very little rain during the spring growing season and a lot of rain during the summer growing season. Okay, we went ahead and snuck in a first taste of both harvests before we continue to talk about it. We noticed that the spring harvest classically has a lighter, fresher, a little more complexity, fruity, floral character. They maintain the lighter oxidation to preserve those delicate spring flavors that are classic to High Mountain spring tea. And with a little more oxidation of the summer harvest, we get a more substantial brew, very nice mouthfeel, less of the high notes, so to speak, in the flavor and aromatic profiles, but satisfying and substantial and rich, I might say, brew nevertheless. Just a little more mellowed out and more palate, less nose. I'm going to quickly do a quick sweep one more time. Yeah, it was a really nice batch of spring tea, despite the fact that it was still, the drought was still happening. There was virtually no water supply during this growing season, but the microclimate specifically of our Shan Lin source did much better than a lot of places in the face of the drought. So we kind of lucked out with this particular source's batch of spring tea coming out of the drought. And then we proceeded to have a lot of rain. Yeah, there's fruitiness. Now that it's cooled down even more, there's definitely almost like a pear note in there. Pear or wax apple, something very light and delicate fruity. Just the slightest bit of sweet, but a really nice smooth mouthfeel. A little more vegetation, or just a soft green vegetal character coming off the second brew of summer tea. Classic differences in the seasonal. This is the same source, same people who made the tea, just these different seasonal growing conditions to produce these different flavor profiles. We mentioned the look in the brewed teas. I want to do a quick close-up here. The spring tea is very uniform, very little stem material, very pretty High Mountain tea. It looks slightly aged, so to speak, slightly immature leaves, probably because they were, even though they did better than most places, were stunted in their growth. We can see a little bit more stem material on these leaves, slightly larger nuggets, but still very uniformly colored. So it shows that there are no overly matured leaves by the lack of yellowing, that there's not really any significant yellowing at all. It looks like a quality batch of High Mountain tea too. The guy who supervises the processing of our Shan Lin High Mountain Oolong tea, we hold in highest esteem in terms of his general skill. He typically, one of the reasons his tea is more oxidized than the standard High Mountain Oolong tea is that he specializes in making tea that will be used for the Lugu Farmers Association Dongding Oolong tea competition, meaning that there will be post-production roasting going on, and you need a level of oxidation in order to handle that roasting. We have grown to not only appreciate that, but really respect it. It gives it better shelf life. It gives it a more substantial character. It's not as fickle. It's just overall, taking into account all of the factors of what makes a good tea, we now feel that a slightly more oxidized High Mountain Oolong tea is the way to go, particularly when the people know how to do it right. So there we have it. Our summer batch of Shan Lin High Mountain Oolong tea is now in stock. And last but not least, it's very much cheaper than spring and winter tea. So if you're looking for an everyday drinker of High Mountain Oolong tea, this is really a good choice. It's probably one of the best deals you can get of the year, given the quality versus price. You can go to our website, ecocha.com, click on Oolong tea and unroasted oolongs, and you will find Shan Lin High Mountain Oolong at the top of the page. Thanks.